Kal Kadosh, good afternoon or good evening for the Gibraltarians. This is the Lunch Learn. First of all, I just wanted to thank everybody or thank the community for asking me or giving me the honor to speak. Shoot, obviously, everyone there. And I wanted to actually do the shiur, Lilu Nishmat Zekenati, my abuela, Simcha Maratimo Shel Avram Shlomo Ederi, in Lilu Nishmata. So we wanted to speak about a very interesting topic, which is about Shavuot, or what is the essence of Shavuot. And if we just analyze Shavuot in itself, this Chag has 4 different names. Chag HaKatzir, Atzeret, Yom HaBikurim, and Hag Shavuot, which means in the Torah, whether it's Parashat Mishpatim, Kitisa, different places in the Torah, we have 4 different names which are going to describe the name of Shavuot. But interestingly enough, what happens is that we don't call it, for example, Zman Matan Toratenu, which would have been much more apropos. Or we don't call it, whether it's Chag HaKatzir, or Yom HaBikurim, or Atzeret. The name that we chose for Shavuot, and everyone knows, is Shavuot. And the question that we ask ourselves is, what was so special about this name? Why do we choose this name specifically more than any other name? That's a question that we're going to try to delve into, which will give us the answer of what is the essence of Shavuot later on. However, though, we're going to put it on a back burner. And what we're going to try to do is we're first going to try to look into what is Shavuot in itself as well. Why? There's a very interesting Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch in Siman Tav Samechet brings down that you're not allowed to bloodlet. You're not allowed to take out blood on Erev Chag. Now, why does this exactly? This is based upon a Gemara. The Gemara says, if you're going to take out blood on Erev Chag, it's going to weaken you. It's going to make us weak. However, though, on Erev Shavuot, it's a sakana. It's a danger to take out blood. Why is it a danger to take out blood? Explains the Gemara over there. What happened is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created on Erev Shavuot a mazik. We're going to say a spirit or something that will damage. His name is Tavuach. And therefore he says, if Bnei Yisrael accepted the Torah, so then Baruch Hashem. If Chas v'Shalom though, we are not going to accept upon ourselves the Torah, Havatavach leul b'Yisrayu. Says the Gemara, he would have done to us shechita, Chas v'Shalom. Tavuach is like a tabach, like a butcher. He would have butchered us. That's what the Gemara says. Now, so says the Gemara, the fact that on Erev Shavuot, it's a sakana, it's a danger, so every Erev Chag becomes prohibited also to take out blood. Now, when we just understand this, we try to come and say to ourselves, 1 second, how does this make sense nowadays? The Machatzita Shekel is the one that asks the question, and he says, Ribono Shel Olam, Matan Torah was more than 3,300 years ago. We accepted the Torah, 2448, we come, we're accepting the Torah. How could it be now, thousands of years later, because then and there, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created some type of spirit that would have butchered us if we wouldn't have accepted the Torah. And because of that, today, in the 21st century, we're not allowed to take a blood out of Shavuot. What does one have to do with another? It doesn't even make sense. Especially after we've already come and we've said, Na'aseh v'nishma, we accepted upon it with love. We said that we are going to do everything that you tell us, you command us to, and only afterwards we're going to listen to what you're saying. How do we understand this? And the Machatzita Shekel answers with a very important yisod, which is also brought down, whether it's the Ramchal and Derech Hashem and many other places, where they say that whenever right now there's a Chag, the same energy that was created during that time again reawakens itself now, which means that in essence, Shavuot is a reenactment of what took place. It's not just a mere commemoration. We're commemorating and we're doing a festival on what's going on. And that's why when it comes out, according to the Machatzit Shekel and the Ramchal, now this Shavuot, it's again Matan Torah. Again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving us the Torah. And the same mazik, the same energy, negative energy that was created out of Shavuot, he's back. And the same kafal emar kegigit, which means the same, just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu put the mountain on top of us, that if we wouldn't have accepted it, he would have crushed us. He's going to do it again, deja vu. Again, it's going to apply. And every single part is there again. So therefore, now we understand why it's prohibited even nowadays. Which means Shulchan Aruch is not going to tell us something that once upon a time happened, and this is halakha l'maaseh today. Even today, it is still prohibited to come and to take out blood because of the same and negative energy, because of this tavuach, this mazik, that would also damage us if we're not going to accept upon ourselves the Torah. However, though, when we think to ourselves, that we realize that everything to do with Shavuot had to do with fear. Right? What does that mean with fear? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is threatening us. He's coming and he's giving us to warn us. One of them is what we just said right now. HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates a form of a mazik, a form of a demon or a negative energy that he will come and obliterate us if we're not going to accept the Torah. And then comes even more. The Gemara Masechet Shabbat says, the one that I just said now, we were standing underneath the mountain. Say Chachamim, what does it mean we were standing underneath the mountain? Says Rav Avdimi Bar Chama Bar Chasa Melamed, teaches us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put the mountain on top of us. And he told us, it's either you accept the Torah or Shama Tekvuratchem, or this is where you're going to be buried. And again, we ask ourselves, and Tosafot there asks the same question. If we already said Naaseh v'nishma, we already said we are accepting everything with goodwill, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, why does he have to bring a mountain to crush us? Now he's doubting what we accepted. So there's many different answers, but we're not going to get into this now about what was there. However, though, we're going to continue. There's a beautiful Gemara there that continues. And listen to this Gemara, very interesting. At Tzedoki, one of the Sadducees, he once found Rava that he was learning Torah. And when he was learning so deeply engrossed in Torah, he didn't even realize that what happened is that all of a sudden, when he's deeply engrossed, all of a sudden what happens is that he has his hands underneath his legs, and he was putting so much pressure he didn't even realize. And blood starts coming out of his fingers. So the Tzedoki comes and he tells Rava, he tells him, Ama Peziza, you're an impulsive nation. Dekadmitu pumaychu la'naichu. Right? That you came and you said, Naaseh nishma. You said that first we are going to do, and then we are going to listen. However, though he says, Akati b'pachazaitu kamaitu. You guys are still persevering in your impulsiveness. You're still jumping. Why? Because you first should have listened, and then you should have accepted upon yourself. Now, the question that we ask ourselves is that it's very nice. This Saduki comes, he sees Rava learning Torah. What is the connection? What's the connection between Naaseh and Ishma? Between that I'm going to come and listen, and then, I'm going to do and then I'm going to listen, and between that Rava's learning and so engrossed in his learning, he puts his hands underneath and blood is coming out. What's the connection between all this? What does one have to do with another? So the truth is, this Tzedoki actually saw something that he never saw in his lifetime. You know that they actually just came out, now they're sending videos all over the place. And there was an African-American video that was sent out that he was there. I don't know if it was in Lakewood or in New York. And he said he was astonished. And he says, you know, these Jews, it's incredible. All of a sudden outside, I see there's 10 of them. They're all coming with social distancing. And there's a rabbi there in the center with a nice long beard. And he comes and he starts praying to God. And they're all not moving, or they're all standing still. And then they're paying attention to the rabbi. It's something incredible. God bless them. What does that mean? That means that he saw something that was different. He saw something in the Jewish nation that was puzzling. This Tzedoki was seeing something that he's never seen in his lifetime. Why? He's seen students, whether it was students that are learning to become doctors, students for lawyers, any type of thing that he has, that you're studying. But he's never been faced with seeing such a phenomenon that you could have a human being that is so engrossed, that is so deeply involved in what he's studying, that he doesn't even pay attention to what's going on around him. That he has no clue, he's clueless of everything that's going on around. You know that they say that Rav Elyashiv, he once visited Rav Ovadia Yosef when he fell off the couch. What happened is that Rav Ovadia Yosef was standing on top of a couch because he got on a couch. He opened up the Sefer and he started learning. He was so engrossed in his learning, he was there probably for I don't know how many minutes, he forgot that he was up high. And he just basically flew in the air. He walked off the couch in the air and he broke his arm. Rav Elyashiv went to visit him. And it was incredible that they said that one of the reasons why Rav Elyashiv went to visit him is that if a person could be so engrossed in learning that he's clueless of what's going on around him, that he could fall off the couch like that, we have to come and we have to do this mitzvah bikur cholim to such a big tzaddik, to such a gadol ador. That's what I heard, right, from Rav Elyashiv on Rav Ovadia Yosef. However, though, when we analyze the words of the Tzedoki, he was correct. Think about it to ourselves. Think about right now what's happening. This Tzedoki comes and he tells you, naturally speaking, with us, in reality. Somebody comes and they call you up. They say, hey, my good buddy, can you do me a favor? The first question is, what can I help you with? Or you're going to say, it all depends. Now, why? Because it all depends on the circumstances. You can't say yes to everything. And therefore, the Tzedoki comes and he tells Rava, and he was bothered with this question. Listen, what happens if HaKadosh Baruch Hu now comes and tells you that part of the mitzvah of the Torah is that we all have to go on the 10th floor and jump down? So, okay, it's possible. We could do it. We could jump down. However, though, are we really going to do it? Or what happens to the opposite? If he tells us that we have to fly from the bottom, from ground floor to the 10th floor, what's going to happen now? And therefore, what he was trying to tell us was, one second, why is it that we didn't listen first? We should have first listened, nishma, and then naaseh, and then we would have acted upon it. Now, when we started speaking about the entire concept of fear, right? Why is it that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to create such a negative energy to annihilate us if we wouldn't have accepted the Torah? Or he was kafalem har kekigit, he put a mountain on top of us. And he told us, if we're not going to accept the Torah, I'm going to drop it. And that's where you're going to be your burial place. It was even a third place also as well. The Gemara says also, Masechet Shabbat over there, Pechet Amud Aleph, it's speaking about the land. That the land was afraid and then not afraid. It was calm and fearful. Says Resh Lakish, what does it mean by Erev Vayivoker Yom Hashishi? What does it mean that it was the 6th day? Vayerev Vayivoker Yom Hashishi. Just say Vayerev Vayivoker Yom Shishi. Just like all the other one. Yom, it was Yom Echad, Sheni, Shlishi, Revi'i, Chamishi, Shishi. What is Yom Hashishi? The 6th day with Hei HaYediyah, which means we are knowing which day we're referring to. So it says the Gemara, Melamed sheitna Kadosh Baruch Hu im Maaseh Bereshit. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a condition with Maaseh Bereshit. He made a condition with the world that if Am Yisrael were going to accept upon themselves the Torah, then fine. If Chas v'Shalom we weren't going to accept upon ourselves the Torah, I'm going to take you back to desolate, to nothing. You're going to become tohu vavohu. We're going to go back to the abyss where there's nothing there. And the question is, imagine what it is. Yom HaShishi, the 6th day, is referring to not the 6th day of the week, the 6th day of Sivan, which is Matan Torah, that the entire world is waiting for a few thousand years until we accept the Torah. And if we're going to accept the Torah, then the world is able to maintain itself, to sustain itself. But if not, chas v'shalom, that's it. The world is destroyed. So again, we ask ourselves, think about it. Why do we have so many fearful things going on by Shavuot? And what do we do as a remembrance? When it was Matan Torah, we're going to read on the first morning of Shavuot. What do we have? Vayikolot ubrakim. There was big sounds. There's kol shofar, right? There was chazak meod. It was very fearful. Vayecherat kolam. We were afraid. But what do we do nowadays on Shavuot? We have the prachim. We have the beautiful flowers, right? That we decorate, whether it's the betei knesiot, hasra, or it's going to be in the houses, or we have the beautiful, the good cheesecakes and the milky foods. We don't do anything nowadays to come and to start memorizing or commemorating all the fearful things. So why be'emet? Why was it so important for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to instill fear in us, to show us what it was Matan Torah? Why? And at the end of the day, we don't do this anymore. So it's true, there's the halakha, you're still not allowed to bloodlet. But still, we don't do any commemorating of those things. It's just a sakana. But if you realize 3 different times, the creation of the world was put on condition. We either accept the Torah or we're goners. The entire world are goners. Kafalem har kekigit, the mountain. If not, we get destroyed. And this tavoach, this mazik, this demon or this negative energy that would have annihilated us or killed us all if we wouldn't have accepted the Torah, what exactly is going on? And in order to understand this, we're going to try to understand what's the difference between Naaseh v'nishma and Nishma v'naaseh. What is the difference between when we're going to listen and then we're going to act, or first we're going to act and then we're going to listen? So imagine right now you get a phone call. Your friend calls you up and he says, listen, my buddy, Achi, I've got the best business deal for you. We're going to invest. You put $30,000 in an investment, and what's going to happen, it's going to be in some place in diaspora. You're going to get $400 back every week, every month, and he continues going. The first thing you're going to tell him is, wait 1 minute. It sounds all roses and it sounds beautiful. Is there a bank backing it? Is there any guarantors? What are the chances of losing all the money? How many times? You start looking into it. Why? You're not just going to invest without actually doing your due diligence to really understand whether it's truthful or not. So that's called nishma v'naaseh. We are going to listen, and then we are going to act. We first want to know the details. Let's see what it does entail, and then let's continue. However, though, imagine right now you have another scenario. The other scenario is Reuven and Shimon, that they're in Eretz Yisrael by the border with Gaza. And all of a sudden they get a beep, yeah, or the sirens go off. There's a terrorist that infiltrated the camp, that infiltrated the Jewish settlement. So now all of a sudden, they're all afraid. They don't know, they start hearing shootings, they hear gunshots, but they don't know what to do. So one of them comes and he says, listen, you should know, call your loved ones, say Shema, we don't know, we're going to be here in another 10 minutes. All of a sudden, the other one friend goes and he says, you should know 1 second. I've got a bunker that even an atomic bomb might not move it, right? But I've got a technical problem. The technical problem is I didn't finish the entrance, so it's a little bit narrow, and there's still nails and things coming out, so you could get hurt on the way down. What should we do? In that scenario, what are we going to do? In that scenario, are we going to come and say, listen, you know what? Did you get an engineer to see how much weight could hand? What are you going to do? You're going to run for your life. You're not going to start coming and asking questions. How many nails? How deep? Did I have a tetanus shot? Did I have this, that? You don't care about that now. When there's a question of life and death, what do? You run. Travel, go. What, you're going to start asking questions? There's no asking questions now. So therefore, Kam Chachamim, they wanted to teach us an important lesson. He says, do you know why HaKadosh Baruch Hu came? And he had to instill this fear in Am Yisrael, that he had to put, whether it was Kafalem Har Kegiyit, that he had to put the mountain on top of us, that if not, he would have buried us there alive, that he would have made this tavoach, that he would have made this mazik, or he would have made the creation with a condition. He says to teach us one important lesson that they were teaching us, they were trying to instill in us and put inside of us. Torah is life. Torah is everything. If we are outside of the Torah, that is death. That is a question of life and death. And therefore, what happens is that all the suffering, everything that we're going to go through, it's nothing with regards to living. If a person would come and he would tell you, a person might have to suffer a little bit, but they'll live for another 20 years. Do you think there's going to be a question? They don't care about the suffering because life is life. Because they understand that, they know that. And that was the question of the Tzedoki. The Tzedoki, the Sadducee, came and he saw Rava, that he's so engrossed. And he says, I don't understand you guys. You guys are crazy. You're so engrossed in something that all of a sudden you're able to bleed from your hands and you don't even realize what's going on. But the Sadducee himself, the Tzedoki himself answered the question. And the Tzedoki says, now I understand the Naaseh v'Nishma. You're persevering what it was Naaseh v'Nishma. Because you guys understood that if there's a terrorist outside, what are you going to do? You don't ask questions. You want to live. How do you live? No asking questions. Naaseh, we're going to do it. Afterwards, we'll listen to the details. And therefore comes the Tzedoki and he says, I understand you now, Rava. The reason why you're doing that is because you guys are copying and you're still the same way for thousands of years. You don't ask questions. You act immediately because the Torah is your life. The Torah is everything that you have. And now we understand what's going on. And this is actually not only to do with Rava. The Gemara actually brings down. The Gemara says in Masechet Kiddushin, Paga becha menuval, moshkeu lebet hamedrash. We think, chas v'shalom, the terrorists will only be in around Gaza area, or maybe in the north around Lebanon. The terrorists are in every single place in the world. You know where they are. Says the Gemara, Paga becha menuval, there's a Yetzer Hara that he wants to kill us. And if it wasn't for the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu helps us, he would have already destroyed us. And the Yetzer Hara is always trying to come up against us. What are you supposed to do? Moshcheu lebet hamedrash. Take this terrorist and grab him to the Bet HaMidrash. Why? If you're with the Torah, right? Barati Yetzer Hara, barati Torah tavlin. You want to live. Learn Torah. You want to live. You need your space. You need what it is to live. The only way you can live is the Torah. And with this is actually incredible. The story with Rabbi Akiva. You know that with Rabbi Akiva, the Gemara Masechet Berachot, Taf Samech Aleph Amud Bet says, we know the famous Rabbi Akiva that now we were just going through the Sefirat HaOmer with his students. What happened was, the Gemara there says, is that they once made a decree, the Romans made a decree that nobody was allowed to learn Torah, especially publicly. What happened was, Papus ben Yehuda came to Rabbi Akiva and he told Rabbi Akiva, I don't understand you. They made a decree and you're still teaching Torah Barabim. He says, what's going on? Right? For sure they're going to get caught. So Rabbi Akiva went and he told him, I'm going to give you a mashal. He says, the mashal, the parable that I'm going to give you is as follows. He says, there was once a shual, the fox that was going on the riverbanks. And he sees that the fish, they're all running around, they're running away from something. So he comes and he tells the fish, what are you running away from? So the fish tell them, listen, there's traps. The fishermen are coming and they're trying to trap us, so we have to run away. So says the fox, listen, why don't you come up with us? Come up over here on the dry land. You're going to live with us, just like our forefathers did. And then that's it. You'll be safe. I'll protect you. So the fish tell the fox, they said, are you the fox which is known to be the smart, or one of the smartest, right, of the animals? He says, you're a pikeach shebachayot, the smart one of the animals. He says, if right now we are going to be where we live, this is our source of life, our life source, and we are not going to be able to live outside of it, we can't live. If we go outside, you think we're going to live? If we go outside of the water, how are we going to live? It's impossible. We can't live. And therefore, he continued doing it. And Rabbi Akiva was caught. And then they came and they put him in jail. And they were going to afterwards comb his skin. And they were going to kill him, torture him to death. Papus ben Yehuda, he came into the jail and he told Rabbi Akiva, Ashrechem, fortunate are you. Because at least when you were captured for Divrei Torah. But woe to me that I was captured on nonsense. The message that Rabbi Akiva was trying to teach us is that the Torah is everything. Everything is in the Torah. And therefore, just like the water, we cannot live without water, without a life source, we cannot live without the Torah. And that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to show it to us, to instill this fear, to show us, understand, if you guys are going to separate from the Torah, you're separating from life. You're putting yourselves in danger. And therefore, even nowadays, in these times, that were very difficult times, we also have to remember that. Because no matter what happens, we must not separate from the Torah, from being close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. However, though, we started off with the original question, and maybe we'll come back to Rabbi Akiva. We started off with the original question, that why do we call this Hag Shavuot? Why is this Chag called Hag Shavuot more than any other name? Why? So we know there's a famous Sefer HaChinuch. The Chinuch says the entire purpose of leaving Mitzrayim was to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Har Sinai. And therefore, if that's what we were supposed to do, that we're supposed to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu by Har Sinai, says the Chinuch, there's a mitzvah to count. Why is there a mitzvah to count? Why is it so important that we're counting? And the Chinuch comes and he says an important yesod. He says, you know why? Anything that you yearn for, anything that we're longing for, we have a craving to do it, we count to it. We're excited about it. We're waiting patiently. When is it going to happen? When are we going to be able to open up our Beit Knesset? When are we going to be able to learn the Torah better? When are we going to do these things? And therefore we count. And therefore he says it's called Hag Shavuot. Why? Because Matan Torah is only based upon counting. The yearning of the Torah. And we're going to bring an incredible proof. Listen to this proof. The Gemara says in Masechet Sotah, everyone knows when we are taught, when we are younger, when we're children, who was the first tribe to run into Yam Suf, to run into the sea? And then the sea split. Everyone knows always Nachshon and Aminadav Lemate Yehuda. However, though, the Gemara there brings a different opinion. Listen to this opinion in the Gemara. Tanya, we learned in a Braita. Hayar Rabbi Meir Omer, Rabbi Meir used to say, when Bnei Yisrael were by the sea, they were arguing who's going to go down first. Kafat shivto shel Binyamin v'yarad layam tchila. Shevet Binyamin ran down, and they were the first ones to jump into the water. And then what happened? Because of this, Zacha Binyamin HaTzadik. Binyamin HaTzadik was zoche that he became an ushpizin to the Gvura. What is ushpizin? Says Rashi, the Bet HaMikdash, the Kodesh HaKodashim, is built in Binyamin because of this action. So you're listening to the reward. The entire Bet HaMikdash was built. Not the entire Bet HaMikdash, but the Kodesh HaKodashim, right? Because the rest of it was in Yudah. This part of the Kodesh HaKodashim in the part of Binyamin. Why? They ran down into the sea. Okay. Unklus also says it on the Pasuk, Binyamin ze vitraf. He also says it, right? Binyamin be'arati shesh chinta be'santei yitparem mikdasha. But in his portion will be built the Bet HaMikdash. However, though, the Gemara Masechet Yomah comes and says, what was in the Chelek of Binyamin? It says it was the Ulam and the Echal. So if we picture the Bet HaMikdash was a big house, but then further in, there was the Ulam and the Echal, where the Kodesh HaKodashim was at the back of the Echal. The Ulam was the entrance, and then the Echal. So what happens is it's something incredible, and it says like this. It says there was a Retzua Yotzeh Mechelko Shel Yehuda going into the Chelek of Binyamin. The Mizbeach was there, and Binyamin was always suffering, that he wanted it. And therefore, Binyamin HaTzadik had the Ushpizin LeGvura. What was the Ushpizin for the Gvura here? Says Rashi, the Aron. The Aron is where the Torah was, which means not only the Kodesh HaKodashim, the Holy of Holies, right, which is in the Bet HaMikdash, was in the portion of Binyamin. Even the Aron HaKodesh, where the Aron was, where the Sifra were there, the Luchot HaBrit, the Torah was there. That was also in the Chelek of Binyamin. The Saba Mistabadka comes and he asks the following question. And he says, 1 second, what's going on over here? How do we understand this? In one Gemara, it's telling us that the Kodesh Kodashim was because that Binyamin ran down to the Kriyat Yam Suf. And the other Gemara is telling us it was because he was yearning for it. Says the Slaba Misovatkia, an incredible yesod. Listen carefully. This is a fundamental in life. And he says, when we came and we wanted the Kodesh HaKodashim to be in this chelek, in the chelek of Binyamin, it was Mesirut Nefesh. They devoted their lives. They gave up everything that they have, even if they're going to kill themselves. They went running into the sea. He said, but that's not enough for the Torah. That's not enough for the Aron. He says, you want to know why Binyamin had the Aron? You want to know why Binyamin had what it's called the Aron HaKodesh, the Torah in his portion? He says, you know why? Because he was suffering. He was yearning for it. He says, I want it. Just like Leah was yearning that I wanted more children, more shifteka, and she got it. She paid for it. She was suffering. That's when you get it. When there's a will, there's a way means. Not when there's a will, stamp. When you're able to suffer for yourself for that. That's when you're able to do that. And once happened with the Gaon in Vilna, that he didn't eat for 3 days, and it was Erev Shabbat. Rav Chaim Volozhin, his student, came to visit him. His family told him, listen, Rav Chaim, the Gaon in Vilna is not eating. He went in. The Gaon in Vilna didn't understand the Yerushalmi. And he said that he's not eating until he's not understanding the Yerushalmi. Until he doesn't understand that Gemara, he's not going to eat. That's why it bothered him so much. The exact same thing happened. Afterwards, obviously, they went, he understood it, was learning together. Whenever you learn Mechavruta, you learn together. You're able to understand. That's actually the Maharshan, this week's Daf Yomi and Daf Samech Zayin. It says, I'm not going to write any Chidushet Torah because we didn't learn together in a group. If we don't learn together in a group, it's Cherev al Abadim. It's like you're learning by yourself. It doesn't have the same potential. It's not the same caliber. It doesn't have the same level. However, though, it also, the exact same you saw was with Rav Shimon Shukop. Rav Shimon Shukop never used to go into the shiurim of the Netzim Volozhin. It once happened that he had a question on a Rashbam, on one of the interpreters of the commentaries on the Gemara. He went to the Netziv and he asked him, what's the explanation? The Netziv said, do you know how much I had to cry to understand that Rashbam? From then on, he went into the shiur. If you're able to cry for something, if it means so much for you, if you're yearning for it and longing for it so much, you're craving it, this is your life, I'm going to give it to you. You're going to get it. And where else do we see such a yesod? Hillel HaZaken. Everyone knows the story of Hillel HaZaken. The Gemara Masechet Yomah says, he says, Hillel HaZaken, if anybody's going to come and say that they were poor and therefore they had to work and they weren't able to learn Torah, Hillel HaZaken is going to disprove them. He said, why? Hillel HaZaken used to make $1 a day. I'm calling it dollars or pounds for our British friends. What happened is that even with this, he used to take half of his salary and give it to the Bet HaMidrash. And the other half, he used to be able to come and support his family. And once happened, he didn't have enough money. So what did he do? He went on top of the roof and he started listening in. He wasn't able to go into the Bet HaMidrash, so he wants to at least listen in. So he's there listening. And then what happened? All of a sudden, Shemaya v'Talyon, they're looking, and all of a sudden they say, 1 second, sunrise already came, and it's still dark in here. There's something wrong. So they look up to the sunroof, and they see, 1 second, there's a body there. Something there. They go up, take him down. What was Hillel HaZaken teaching us? Hillel HaZaken was teaching us how to learn Torah. If you want to learn Torah and you want it, you have to crave for it. You have to long for it. And that's also the explanation with Rav Gamliel. You know, when Rav Gamliel was the Nasi, he was the Nasi, the prince, there were hardly a lot of people in the Bet HaMidrash. Why? He used to say, anybody that the inside is not like the outside, which means that we didn't perfect ourselves inside, we cannot come into the Bet HaMidrash. What happened is that they put him down. They took him away and they put Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. That was the famous Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, the 18-year-old, that his beard becomes all white, 18 things. What happened? The second he became the Nasi, opens up the doors of Bet HaMidrash. They added tons of benches all over the place. Rabbi Gamliel, he was all upset. He was thinking to himself, look, maybe I stopped Torah. What's going on? The Rebbe Mikotsk, he comes, the Rebbe Mikotsk, and he says an incredible yesod. He says, do you know what Rabbi Gamliel was actually trying to show us? Rabbi Gamliel was trying to show us, if you really want to get into the Bet HaMidrash, you're going to get into the Bet HaMidrash. If really, man, that's how he knew Toho Kibaro. But think about it. Do you know the insides of every human being? Do you know what the person is thinking internally? Whether he's a tzaddik or rasha? He could be playing a two-face. So how do you know if Be'emet Toho Kibaro? How do you know that the inside is like the outside? Says Gamliel, you know how I know? Because if he really wants to get into the Bet Midrash, he'll get into the Bet Midrash. And again, it's always the same yesod. Do you know, we come and we say a special tefillah every single morning. Every morning we say Avat Olam Avtanu, which is Birkat Torah, which means in the Lachaz Brotan, if you didn't say Birkat Torah and you said Avat Olam, that's counted like your Birkat Torah. And what happens is there we come and we say an incredible yesod. And I heard this from Rav, I forgot his name now, but it was in the house of Avraham Cohen in the Siyum Masechet that he did in the mornings when he made in his house a Siyum Masechet. Rav Ben Amor, Rav Shalom Ben Amor from Brazil, he told me this in the name of the Chazon Ish. We were there and he said this over and he said, do you realize we come and we say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in the middle of Avat Olam Avtanu, Hashem Elokeinu, Chavei Gadol V'Rachamat Aleinu, Avinu Av Rachaman, Father, merciful one, Hamerachem Rachem Na'alenu, please have mercy on us. V'tem belibenu, and give into our hearts. Bina le'avin, la'askil, lishmoa, lilmod, lamed. He says, if you look at the beginning of the bracha, it looks like chas v'shalom, somebody's sick. It looks like we're praying for a sick person. It looks like we're coming and something's wrong, as if to say, there's something not here. So why is it all of a sudden that we're praying with such fervor? Avinu, everything is Av, Abba, our Father. Why? And you know what the Chazon Ish says? He says, you know why? Because to understand the Torah, we pray and we cry to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we want to understand. Reveal our eyes. We should see the wonders, the beauty of the Torah. Because the Torah is so beautiful. We have to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to open up our eyes to see it. Because if not, like we always know, the Torah at the beginning is very bitter. But it becomes so matok, so sweet afterwards that we don't understand. But that's only if we yearn for it. If we're wanting it, if we have the will, then we're going to get it. This, in essence, is so important for us to understand. Why? It was actually, what happened is that there was a case that a boy, he had his bar mitzvah now. It was supposed to be right now. He just had it a week ago. And it was before Pesach, he was sent by a rabbi, the famous story with Rav Eliashiv. And what happened was, it was a bar mitzvah boy, imagine, preparing the entire parasha. And when it comes out, the father didn't realize, they booked two at the same time. So since there were two people booked at the same time, what happened was, there was going to be a technical problem. The technical problem was, how are you going to do it? Two bar mitzvah boys. This bar mitzvah boy, he gave in and he said, I'm not going to read the parasha. Let him read it. It's okay. I'll get an aliyah or whatever it is, and that's it. 3 years later, he was stuck in the hospital. I don't remember if it was the mother or somebody. He had to be in the hospital. And there was a minyan in the hospital, so he went down to the minyan. Rav Eliashiv was there, and they needed a bal koreh. It was his bar mitzvah parasha. And then he went and he told Rav Eliashiv the story, and he said, now I understand why I had to learn my bar mitzvah parasha. Because even though I gave in and I didn't read my bar mitzvah parasha at that time, now I'm reading it for one of the Gdolei Ador. That's what's happening. So he went and he told this boy that's going to become bar mitzvah recently, he said, listen, even if it is that your bar mitzvah won't be the same, obviously what's going on, but you should know, right? We never know what goes behind the Kadosh Baruch Hu's mind, and for sure it's going to be good. Don't worry about it. The boy went and he sent a message to the rabbi and he told him, Rabbi, you know the Sifrei Torah, they're suffering. How could it be that the Bate Knesiyot are closed? I want to come and I want to take out the Sefer Torah for my bar mitzvah. I want to take it out. You should know that boy opened up the Beit Knesset. He opened it up and he actually had the bar mitzvah in that Beit Knesset. Why? To show you when you yearn for something, it's going to happen. But now you should know, I know there are also a lot of women here, so I'm going to say something for the women as well. At the beginning, I thought it was only going to be for men. Afterwards, we added women, so I'm going to say for the Nashim Tzidkaniyot, I'm going to say as follows. You know that it once happened that there was a shiur of arachim And after the Shir of Arachim comes a woman, she goes to the rabbi and she gives him a sefer. She gives him a book. It was on Dayanut, very, very deep, on all types of Choshe Mishpat, Even Ezer, money matters, personal relationships, everything very deep, intricate halachot. What happened is that after all this, when they were starting, right, she comes and she says to the rabbi, you should know, I'm going to tell you a secret. I have a big part in this. So the rabbi says, why do you have such a big part in it? Obviously, you're the mother. You always have a part in it. She said, no, I'm going to tell you. My son went into a kollel and he started learning. The Rosh Kollel made a condition. You're in my kollel, no problem. But you have to give a chabura every single time it's your turn. You have to give a speech. You're going to come, you're going to give a shiur in front of everybody. Her son was very, very shy and he didn't want to do it. So what happened is he comes and he starts saying, no. The Rosh Kollel says, I'm sorry. It's either that or you can't be in my kollel. The mother tries getting involved, asks the Rosh Kollel. The Rosh Kollel says, listen, you should know that at the end of the day, there's a lot of Torah that could come out of him. And if he doesn't take out that Torah that's within him, we're losing it. So therefore, I want him to learn. I want him to give shiurim. And at the end, you're going to see he's going to want to give the shiurim. The mother sees he's not going to give in. Okay, so she tries convincing the son. The son doesn't want. She tells him, listen, how about this? You're not embarrassed talking in front of me, no? So you know what? Why don't you give me the shiur first every single time? And afterwards, you come to the kollel and you give the shiur in the kollel. So the son didn't really want. Afterwards, back, forth, finally he gives in. Says, okay, fine. They asked the rabbi. They said, okay. He comes, he starts teaching. And first it's in Isur Ve'eter, Basar Ve'chalav. Starts giving her entire shiur. He gave it over to her more than 20 times that she could probably already give over the shiur. And she's going and going. He continued doing that time after time. He gives the first shiur. The day before the shiur, she calls up the Rosh Kollel and she asks him for a favor. Rosh Kollel, do me a favor. Tell all the avrechim, because he's afraid. There are people that are double his age. It could be his father there, or grandfather. Please tell them to give him the encouragement, to give him positive words, to help him out. Give him that. Show him it's important. So that way he'll be able to continue. The Rosh Kollel did it, and they all came. He was excited, beautiful. Second time around came, and again, he gets into the same nerves. Buldener. Again, he's back there. And she did it again. And she continued doing that for years until he was able to do it on his own. Till he opened up his own kollel, till he was opening his own thing. He wrote for his mother, Agdasha, at the beginning of his book, a commemoration. And he said to his mother that just like when Rabbi Akiva came, and he said that when his wife, Rachel, came running, she jumped at his feet. They said, hey, what's going on here? He said, no. Sheli v'shelachem shelahi, everything we have and what you have is hers, belongs to hers. Everything belongs to you, my mother. That's what he went, and that's he said in his sefer. And therefore we come and we say to the Nashim Tzadkaniyot, to the women, you should realize that everything belongs to you. And everything depends upon you, the women, whether you're going to help, whether it's your children and your husbands and your brothers and sisters to learn Torah. Rav Dessler writes in his sefer, he says, I used to wake up very early in the middle of the night on Friday nights to learn with my son, to learn with my father. He says, but the best part of learning with my father in the middle of the night was that my mother used to wake up in the middle of the night, used to prepare me these incredible cookies and used to put it out with a tea and a coffee and everything. And that's what used to give me the love for the Torah. Rav Dessler became a Rav Dessler because of his mother. And that's why we say on Shavuot, we first speak to Bet Yaakov because they are the source of the Torah. They are the cause of the Torah. And therefore we have all the Nashim Tzadkaniyot that are here understand that. Everything that we have is because you yearn for it. And you guys are pushing them to learn Torah. Now we are in a place, and we are during a time that unfortunately the majority of us are not going to have our Beit Knesset open for the Shavuot, for the Chag. We already had a Pesach that wasn't, and now Shavuot not. But we have to understand one thing. The Torah is Torat Chaim. That is our life. That is our source of life. And as long as we're connected to the source of life, we will succeed in everything. The Admor Miklosenberg used to say, and I'm going to finish with this. The Admor Miklosenberg used to say that there was a mashal he used to give on Motzei Simchat Torah. Imagine after 51 days from Rosh Hashanah, Kippur, you had all the everything going until Simchat Torah. They come and they used to tell Rebbe, give us a big Dvar Torah, give us some strength to continue going. He said, listen, we've just finished everything. all the Yamim Noraim, Sukkot, Simchat Torah, Shmini Atzeret. He says, you want to know what's going to give you the antidote. He says it's a mashal that a doctor that he had to go away for a few months. And obviously his patients are going to go crazy. So he said, doctor, what happens if we're going to need you? He says, you know what? In special circumstances, I'm going to give you a pill. When you really need me, take this pill and you'll be okay. Says that Mor Miklazenberg, you know what that pill is? The Torah, the Simchat Torah. We're finishing with the Torah. Because if you take that pill, you'll be able to withstand the entire rest of the winter until Pesach. Shavuot is the exact same thing. Even though we're going to finish Shavuot, and then with many of us, sometimes, Chas v'shalom, they go downhill. Because it starts the summer months, and then finally we have to come to Elul and we start running, doing Teshuvah again. No. What's going to happen is we have to realize the pill is the Torah. If we're connected to Torah, we have the antidote of life. We will never be able to go down. We'll always continue growing in Torah Nirat Shamayim. Remember that tomorrow is, not tomorrow, tomorrow you should print it out, but on Shabbat, Erev Rosh Chodesh Sivan, is the Tfilat HaShla for the children. The Shavuot is Matan Torah in itself, as we mentioned from the beginning. Just like the Shla Kadosh brings down, which means that we are accepting upon ourselves Shavuot. This is Matan Torah. All the Ruchniut, all the spirituality we're going to have for the rest of the year is dependent upon this. Be'ezrat Hashem, we should try to strengthen ourselves, to understand when there's a will, there's a way. The Torah is Torat Chaim. That's everything that we have in life. Connect ourselves, whether it is through Zoom shooting, whether it is through everything, but be connected to the source of life. Right? We have to zoom into what's important in life. Don't miss out on everything that we have. Be'ezrat Hashem, I just hope that this should actually be Liluni Shmata for my grandmother, Be'ezrat Hashem, and that Be'ezrat Hashem we should always have good news, Briut and Refuah Shlema for all those that are sick. We should be able to be Zocheh to Mashiach Ken Mimenu Amen. Be'ezrat Hashem. I hope everyone has a Shabbat Shalom, Hag Shavuot Sameach. Obviously, again, we're going to have also Chodesh Tov. Be'ezrat Hashem, all the best.